Psychedelic drugs like psilocybin are illegal at the federal level, but there's been a growing push to legalize medical research into the drugs, often in the name of helping veterans. And it's leading to an unlikely alliance on Capitol Hill. Progressive Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and conservative Texas Republican Dan Crenshaw are pushing to expand research into psychedelics. Congressman Crenshaw spoke with News Nation's Elizabeth Vargas about the bipartisan effort.
You have teamed up with AOC on legislation that would allow veterans to take part in clinical trials of psychedelics to treat PTSD, traumatic brain injuries. We have 17 vets who commit suicide every day in this country. Do you think these psychedelics could save lives?
Oh, they absolutely would. It's frustrating it's taken this long to get this legislation at least being taken seriously. We're not over the finish line yet, to be clear. But yes, it absolutely would. It's a longer conversation, but we could go over testimony after testimony after testimony of veterans that have gone through these therapies, whether it's using MDMA or another one called ibogaine, psilocybin. There are really dramatic effects.
Yeah, you told a story to the Washington Post about how twice in one night, two different vets talked to you about this, one over dinner and another bumped into you, I think you said, in the elevator. What did they say to you that convinced you we got to look into this?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big turning point for me because I'm like, how is this happening twice in one night, right? I've never even heard about this before. This was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, well, the short answer is it saved their lives, right? That's how they explain it to me. Especially though in one case, said he tried to kill himself 5 times, and this one day of treatment just resets him. Like it resets him, and that's what you hear from them in these testimonies over and over again, because they're trying to explain what happened, and they don't. It's hard for them to explain what happened, but the best way to explain it is it's like a reset.
Yeah, you've called it chemo for the brain for your demons.
Yeah, I don't think I've called it that, but somebody probably has, and that's maybe a good way of putting it, right? It's like putting a fresh blanket of snow on all your neural connections is another way I've heard it explained. I mean, I've never done it, so I don't exactly know. I just know what these testimonies are, and a lot of them are from good friends of mine that I really trust. These are people who are really having a hard time and almost immediately changed. And that's not just their testimonies, it's their spouses as well. There's a lot of these couples who will say, this saved our marriage, like hands down, saved our marriage. We have to get this into the hands of more people who need help.
Congressman Crenshaw pushed to add funding for research to the National Defense Authorization Act. House and Senate lawmakers are still negotiating over that military funding legislation. Texas lawmakers approved legislation in 2021 to allow studies of psychedelic drug treatments for veterans. Later that year, researchers at the University of Texas at Austin launched the Center for Psychedelic Research and Therapy. The center is looking into whether low doses of psychedelics combined with therapy can treat severe PTSD and depression. TxDOT is supposed to submit performance reports for companies doing critical work on its toll road system. But our investigation found they're not always following the rules. First, a Texas Democrat gears up to challenge Ted Cruz.
The truth is, we don't have to be embarrassed by our senator. We can get a new one.
We go one-on-one with Congressman Colin Allred. He's vowing to bring Texans together, but where does he stand on key issues dividing voters?